Hello, KFC SuperCoaches. The teams are in for round 12. Rob Sutherland is here to talk them through with me. Rob, what are you thinking this week? Don't hit me with any Greek philosophy.
The Greeks didn't have a word for the colour blue. I just thought it was a fascinating thing that I dropped on you just before we went live on air. What am I thinking this week? This week I'm thinking double cheapy, Tom. I'm thinking I'm going to bring in Billy Smith. I think he's the trade of the week. Yep. The other one's a little bit riskier, Harrison Edwards. Forwards maybe young, cheapy forwards aren't the go often, but he's starting at lock. He's got a really low BE. Missed out on the 90k made last week, but I still think there's a chance to make money there.
Yeah, I think they're both good buys. For me, Billy Smith is a must, I agree. Harrison Edwards is a bit tougher to fit in because forwards is not really where I want to be getting my cheapies this year. So I'm probably going to avoid him, but I'd certainly see that he is a decent purchase.
I'll go into a bit more detail as to why with others later. Just something to look forward to.
We usually go through the winners first, but we're going through the losers first, given how many there are this week. Joey Manu has been ruled out this week, but then they've got the bye. This is the injury here. They've got the bye coming up, so we knew that was going to happen anyway, so it's probably only one game that we didn't know about. Then again, if he misses round 14, that's a tough round. With the Eels on the bye, the Sea Eagles and the Knights. So if he does miss that round, you're pretty much stuffed.
I think he's got to go. As successful as he's been at 5'8", the issue is if he misses two, or he misses one with injury, then he misses one with a bye. Sammy Walker's 4 weeks, but say he makes a quick recovery, and say he then moves into the halves. There's too many sort of what ifs and could ifs, and I think at 650k, you've got to move him on.
Yep, he's gone for me, and Billy Smith comes into the team, which I think it is probably the most popular trade this week. On the losers list as well, Valence Tafare, after his amazing debut where he scored 2 tries, including this piece of absolute brilliance, has now been dropped. Brenko Lee's back into that team, so Valence falls out of the side, and we said this last week. Why get on him when he had the bye to start with? Plus, it was only after one game.
Not only has he got the bye, one game, he's got Wayne bloody Bennett. Wayne hates us, just hates us. He likes for us to be miserable, all of us, but particularly SuperCoaches, I believe. And he struck again. He probably wants to pick him, but he just knows that he saw 22,000 people went and picked him up and went, screw him. Thanks, Wayne.
Send through your questions and comments, guys. I've got Facebook up now. Hosking is getting, this is from Mohammed, he's asking, Hosking is getting less game time. Is he a trade out? I think he is, particularly with Liam Martin back into that team. I don't see the big minutes continuing, so I reckon it is time to cash out. And he's got the bye in round 13 too. So it could be this week, it could be next week.
Yeah, so the HIA and then not coming back on probably means that the minutes, it is exaggerated, how little he played. But as soon as Martin came back into the team, Hosking lost value. His BE's low 70s, I think. So you could hold if you had other things to do. For me, though, I'm trading out.
Joe is saying it was way more professional when Copes ran it, which is, it's probably true. It's what Antigone, our producer, was saying before as well.
She did ask for a name check too, just quietly, so you've given it that.
Well, it seems like a common theme in here that Cope should just come in and do it every week. Do we wait another week on Tapane? Look, I've got him already. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface with him. But I've been waiting for these big attacking stats, and they haven't come. Has he got to that point in his career where it's just not on for him? He's not that tackle-busting, offloading player that he used to be.
Used to be when you're only talking last year is a severe case of recency bias. He did finally crack a 7, so he got to 70 right last week, which is great. I'll do this now. So the reason I'm going double cheapy is to build up a big bank for next week. So you've got guys like Tarpany, who won't play Origin, so that's not an issue. But then you've got Madison, Hopgood, Alokatau. I always screw that up. All these guys who are potential Origin players. So I'm like, build your bank up this week. Teams are named next Monday. Then you can go and spend. Now, Tarpany doesn't fit into that, but it's still a thing that his BE's only in, it's like 55, 56. All of those blokes are not going to make a lot of money this week, so you could wait 1 week and then buy them when you've got origin and team certainty.
Mick Burke is saying, what's the go with the Hawaiian shirt? FFS, summer is over. You are not on a cruise ship.
I'll be honest, it just, I fell into it, Thomas. You know this. You know the story. I started with one and, it's a little bit like... No, I won't go. I'll just say I started with one and then it just became a thing.
Let's keep going with the losers list. Max Fairguy. So, picked him up as a cheapie last week. Unfortunately, out this week with Zach Lomax back into that team. So, the new Dragons coach has come in and just completely shredded his team to bits.
Well, I think it was the right thing to do for the Dragons.
Definitely the right thing to do.
I think Lomax deserves to be in first grade. Unpopular opinion. I fell for this trap too. Now I suppose you just got to sit and wait and not hope for injuries, but they might come along and then he might get another run.
And also on the losers list, we've got all these Warriors players like CNK, Jackson Ford, Adam Fanua, Blake, Tohu Harris, etc. I guess the most pressing one there is CNK. That's Charles Nickel Clockstad. He is a popular sell this week, given that he's on the bye this round. But then he covers round 13. Plus, he's got a good base. He's got a good work rate. For me, he's a hold.
Yeah, of the popular centre wing sells, the Warbricks, the Khan Pereiras, the Taruvas. There's others I'm forgetting, but I've got Nickel Clockstad as Klukstar as the one I would hold. He's of all of those guys, the one I would hold and have as like a sixth centre wing quite happily. He's got a great work rate. Fullbacks are preferable to wingers. I think Fanua Blake's an interesting one. He just keeps scoring tries. Is that going to happen? Nah, probably won't keep happening. But, has he got 4 in 5 games, 3 in 4 games, something like that? He's doing well, but geez, the price is out of there. Ford's the one I'd sell out of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Ford is the guy who would go first for me. On the winners list, Mitch Moses is back from that concussion, and Josh Schuster is finally back. It may have been injury-induced, though, because Johns is out with injury. In any case, you'd think now that Schuster's back, he stays in that team if he stays fit.
If he stays healthy, if he stays fit. Are you going to play him this week?
No.
No.
But he will cover round 13, which is great news, but then he's got the bye for 14.
So will Turbo, probably. His form's so bad. Anyway, we'll get to him later. Sorry, Tom.
I'm happy to freestyle it.
Yeah, look, our win is Turbo's loss, and I think he's played himself out of a New South Wales Origin 1 jersey anyway, and therefore he becomes a round 13 piece. It's really good.
Yeah, I've got him on the hold list, and there's no way. There's a lot of people are selling this week. There's no way I'd be doing that, given what you said. Plus, he's playing for an Origin jersey this week, so surely he goes out there and has a massive crack.
Look, the 3-round average is not sexy at 50, but the overall average is 60 plus, and if he's only running at 80%, then I'm assuming that I'm going to take a 1.2 uplift on the current scores and say as soon as he's fit, that's where he's going to be again. So, yeah, I think he's a hold.
Onto the buy list, Billy Smith. We're both saying he is a must. Here he is, this great little try assist here. The Roosters have, sorry to say this, Rob, but the Roosters have been quite poor.
They've been horrendous, Tom.
But he has been a shining light the last couple of weeks.
He's been great. Base is in the 40s. He's getting 20 points in runs, 20 in tackles. I think he's missed 2 tackles and made 41 in 2 games. That's tremendous in the centres. He just needs luck, with injuries. One of the unluckiest players in modern rugby league. The Roosters have been atrocious. There's no way of going around that. I'd throw James Tedesco is a popular sell for a very good reason. Form's just not there. I'm holding. I'm doing like a Tedesco, Cam Murray, Renaissance tour. I'm just going to hold the old blokes and, they'll come good. I think what's Cam Murray's like 26. I'll call him a good old bloke. But yeah, Smith's a good get.
Yep, Smith must have.
It's taking a long time to get there tonight. I've got to hurry.
I thought you said snappy. That's
I know.
I'm
sorry. My mum picked up a PhD today, and I've got to go and celebrate with her. But she can wait.
Harrison Edwards. We've spoken about him a little bit before, but looks like I said today that he's the best front row cheapie we've seen since in quite a while.
Yes, there were. issues with is he going to keep his job.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's been named at lock again. He's keeping, like, Fatala Mariner out of lock. And Fatala Mariner was bloody good last year. He's struggling to come back from that foot injury, but he's a good player. So, obviously, they think a lot of him. Workhorse, makes 40-plus tackles. And not so many runs, but lots of tackles.
Franklin Pele is out suspended for 2 weeks, so that improves his job security. Plus, they've got Patolo, who came back through New South Wales Cup on the weekend. So there's a few moving parts there. Job security isn't the best. Doesn't cover the bye either, which is an issue. But for me, look, I just don't think that's the position where you should be getting cheapies at the moment. We can get Billy Smith and then upgrade elsewhere.
I understand.
Ruben Garrick, he's a definite buy. He's bottomed out after a few injuries in that game at centre. He's just so good on that wing outside Tommy Turbo.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, throwing the goal kicking, which hasn't done much. A couple of weeks ago, I think they scored 1 try. But he seems to get points for nothing. There were accusations of collusion and bias and shocking stats. But you have a look at it, and the stats are there. It's not subjectively that he's scoring. He's getting 8 tackle busts, 2 or 3 line breaks. He's a winger who does work. He's what you want in SuperCoach.
Of course, we're all looking to that round 13 bye, and you've got Sean Lane out for up to 2 months with a hamstring injury, so a very serious hamstring injury. And 2 guys who you could bring in who will benefit from that are Jermaine Hopgood and Ryan Madison. Are you into either of these guys, knowing that Hopgood is a bloke that I've sold already? So it takes a lot of, you've got to, it takes a man of substance to bring him back into your team. And I don't know if I am that. While Maddo is on the bench again, despite the fact that they've got all these injuries.
It's really weird. I look at Madison and go, of the two, I much prefer Madison, right? He's the upside guy. He's got that offload, blah, 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 blah. Right, Jermaine Hopgood has 3 games of 100+. That's exceptional. If it was one of the stars who had done that, then we'd be like, oh, yeah, he's here, he's back. But it's this guy who is a cheapie. I'm really, really tempted to bring him back. And that's one of my rules, don't buy a guy back that you sold. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait a week. He is far more an outsider to make Origin at Queensland, obviously. And Madison's some sneaky chance of being 18th man. As I said earlier, they've both got BEs close to 60 in the area, something like that. So the prices shouldn't move too much. So I'm going to wait, but I think I might get him next week.
My issue with both of those guys is that I'd be stuffed in round 14 if I bring in another Eel or another Sea Eagle or another Knight. You really need to look out for that round because a lot of people are getting on because they cover 13. But those 3 teams, when it's best 17, not best 13, are all on the bye in that round after. So definitely watch out for that round.
It's a fair point. Hopgood could just be a legit top 4 second row, though.
Exactly. That is a good point as well. Onto the holds, Jared Croker. A lot of people are selling. I can't get around this. I know he's peaked. The BE is 37, but he covers the next buy round next week, and then you sell in round 14.
Or even hold in 14 while you're covering your, and the upside is the goal kicking, gives him that sort of base that allows you to hold and assume that he might at least cover his BE and not lose you too much cash. And he becomes a useful piece. Sell him out at 15, 16.
Plenty of questions coming through. Rob, Hawaiian shirts don't include grey. Oh, no, I won't say that one. Hold on. I will not say that one
you
at all.
You can say what you like. It's about my
Maddo,
hair.
Oh, here's a good one for you. Maddo or Lukey?
Oh, easy, Maddo. Yeah, I think Lukey is a case of chasing last week's points. He does not have the base to be worthwhile here. Like, it's 25 tackles. He doesn't make a lot of runs. He's very efficient with his runs, but he's not a high run maker. So Madison for me, for sure.
Nathan's asking Carraz or Miller for a centre wing spot. Well, Carraz has got the bye next week, so I won't be going there, but he's coming down to a decent price. He's definitely a guy I've got on my radar.
Miller's on my radar. I think Miller's a top 6 centre wing. And I'm not 100% sure Carraz has the consistency to be there, as I think Miller does.
And Troy's asking Isaiah Papali'i as a pod move for Hosking. I don't hate that. I mean, he's been going okay. He doesn't have those attacking stats this year, which he had last year at the Eels.
The base was good last week. The score was good last week. The work's been there, but the attacking stats are sorely missing. The price has come right down, but I just think we're discounting what Hopgood is doing with 3 scores of 100 plus. I think I know I'm guilty of that, and you've got to respect the scoring.
Let's run through each of the games. Broncos v the Panthers. The Broncos have got Adam Reynolds out and Jock Madden into that team. In terms of this clash, you've got Reece Walsh kicking goals with Reynolds out, so that's a boost for him. I still think that Walsh was a sell a couple of weeks ago, and it's a tough matchup against the Panthers. It's
as tough as any match. I think that's the hardest matchup to have, even if they're at home. Walsh is also going to miss Reynolds. Even if it's Mam is the hip that he likes to run off, it's Reynolds that calls the play that moves it in the direction that Mam fills the hole. So the whole team in the attack will miss Arrow.
Anyone else stand out for you there at the Bronx? They're not particularly relevant at the moment.
Really, just Payne Haas is killing it, but that's it. I had a look.
Are you holding him for the Origin period?
I'm going to hold him for the Origin period.
He's there for the whole season.
I had some people ask, what about Flegler or Corey Jensen to cover, through Origin when Haas is out? But I just don't see the upside with those guys. I think it's a wasted trade.
At the Panthers, no changes for them. Tyrone Peachey has turned out to be a pretty damn good purchase, and he picked up dual positioning over the weekend, BE of -2, so certainly don't be selling him yet.
Oh, 100%. He's doing really old school Peachey stuff.
Yep.
2 tries without a line break. Arguably could have had a try assist, line break assist last week, but didn't get it. They tend to be favouring the sort of dominant playmaker as opposed to the centre wing who passes it on. So as long as it's consistent, that's cool.
Dragons v the Roosters. As I mentioned, the new Dragons coach, Ryan Carr, has gone with a bit of an overhaul. We've got Lomax recalled. Fairguy is out, which is big news for SuperCoach. I think he's a hold anyway. Hunt goes back to halfback. Sullivan goes to the bench. Little goes to hooker. Moses and Bison in the team anymore. But they are a relevant team for SuperCoach in that they cover this upcoming bye. You've got Zach Lomax and Jack Bird, which are both standing out for me, particularly Lomax, given that he was dropped recently, so I think he fires up, and was reportedly really good in New South Wales Cup over the weekend. And then you've got Jack Bird, who has that dual positioning and has that great base of a forward who's available at centre wing. Yeah, and I mean, I got Bird a few weeks ago and maybe paid a little overs at 600k, but he's had some good games, and I think he can go down and become my 4th, 5th centre wing and just stay there for the rest of time. Lomax is getting down to a sneaky good price. His return hurts Sullivan. There'll be no goal kicking when he comes on. And at the Roosters, Joey Manu's out. That means Hutchison goes into the halves, and Jared Warrior-Hargraves has been named despite that pectoral strain, and Egan Butcher back from concussion. What are your thoughts on the Roosters? Anyone standing out Supercoach-wise? Oh, no. God, other than Billy Smith. James Tedesco, I'm holding. As I said, I'm really tempted to vice-captain him this week just to, thumb my nose at the Supercoach gods. Egan Butcher was playing awesome before he got knocked out. And Satili Tupanua back at second row could do something. We'll see. Definitely a good matchup for the Roosters this weekend against the Dragons. Don't do that whole we can't win. You guys will knock us over. Yeah, it's not Anzac Day. That's the exactly. So I think the Roosters have won like the last 12 non-Anzac Day matches against the Dragons. Streaks are made to end. Rabbitohs v the Eels. Plenty of Origin action at the Rabbitohs with guys like Latrell, Cameron Murray, potentially Campbell Graham, depending on what happens with. He's got to be in. I think he has to be there somewhere, but it does kind of hinge on Turbo as well. I think Cody Walker is really under-owned in SuperCoach this year. So I think he's a decent purchase to get in, even though he's not that popular. Get him in this week. Price is getting out there, but the only reason the price is getting there is because he's scoring well. Tigers, almost, as a non-Latrell owner, I tuned into that game and I was like, oh, geez, the Tigers are doing well. They're really holding Latrell out of the game, and then he barges over for a bloody try with 10 minutes to go and does, Latrell stuff. Well done to him. Cam Murray had a bit of a comeback. That was nice to see. Someone who held faith. And having a look at that bench with Blake Taffy on there, I think he might get some decent minutes this week too. The Eels, there we've got Mitch Moses back from the concussion and Cartwright into the starting team for Sean Lane, not Ryan Madison. Dylan Brown chugging along well. Anyone else in this team taking a fancy?
Maddo will still play 60 minutes. I see him coming on with 20 to go and playing through. That seems to be the sort of way they use him these days. But outside of that, no, nothing really catching my eye. I mean, Sean Russell, he can score a try, but he can also find himself out of a team pretty quickly. So it's a risky one.
Sharkies v the Knights. At the Sharkies, Cameron McInnes is out for a month or so with a broken hand. Nico Hines is captain up against the Knights. It's at Coffs Harbour. It's almost a lock-in, isn't it, as captain?
It seemed it to me until someone much smarter than me, which is a low bar to pass, in the Q&A suggested, well, why not vice-captain Nico and captain David Fafita, who's coming off 300s in a row? Yeah. As long as you make sure, that your loop and where you loop and who you're going to loop is going to fit within the time constraints, it's a great go to have a second guess, like a second go at it.
Yep, decent call. At the Knights, they've got the same 17. Tigers v the Cowboys, no changes for the Tigers. Jareem Buller still got that BE of 4, so he'll be probably a sell next week for me, but he's been going really well.
It's one of the reasons we're going Harrison Edwards. I, stubbornly held on to Teddy and Turbo, so I couldn't get Jareem Buller, and I've missed that cash. I've got to try to find cash elsewhere.
At the Cowboys, they've got Jermaine Tanua-Brown out with concussion and Riley Price into that team. Anyone standing out for you here?
I'd doff my hat to the Goz. A bloke who I and a couple of others have perhaps mocked in the past as being a guy that wasn't really even up to the Dragons standard, which is a low standard at times. And he's gone to the Cowboys and he's played bloody well the last 4 or 5 games. He scored a try. He looks horrendous with his haircut, but that's fine. That's kids these days.
Yeah, there's a lot of shocking haircuts up there at the Cowboys.
It seems to be a thing. If Reuben Cotter was your hero, then you're going to look pretty awkward.
Yeah, I agree. He's taken it to a new level. I didn't go there because of knowing what I've seen in the past, but he's definitely taken it to a new level this year.
Speaking of looking awkward, and I know I'm at risk with a face like this of making this about how people look. Reece Robson batting way above his average. I saw a story that just happened to mention his girlfriend, and Reece Robson is a very ugly looking man with a face that just has been beaten around with a bat, and yet his partner is not. I just thought I'd drop that in there.
Yep, it's got no relevance to SuperCoach. Can we?
Scoring well?
Scoring well, yeah. Dolphins v the Storm. Jesse Bromwich is back and Brenko Lee is back as well. That means no Valence Tafare. Look, if you were one of those people who got on Tafare last week, what would you do with him?
Same as what I'm doing with Max Fionnay. Just going bastard and just hold on. And I mean, at least you've got you've got a loop option there.
At the Storm, they've got no changes, but Nelson Asafa-Solomona is in doubt with a rib issue. Again, they're not covering this upcoming bye, so a lot of people are selling Storm players. It makes sense to me. Guys like Warbrick, Eli Katoa, Christian Welsh, etc.
Yeah, I sold Welch and he went and pumped out a 59, a lazy 59. He did very well. Maybe he's trying to get himself a late charge into Origin. I would throw one last thing, since we're throwing this match together. Marshall King has been outstanding. Someone was asking, would you trade Harry Grant to Marshall King through Origin? Yeah. And normally I'd say never sell Harry Grant. Geez, Marshall King's going well.
Yeah, I feel like Harry Grant could get rested after Origin as well, and Marshall King would be a genuine option there. I don't hate that trade at all. I was about to ask, do you sell Harry Grant and or Cameron Munster over this Origin period?
I could get around it, but they are both guys that tend to back up reasonably well.
Bulldogs v the Titans. At the Doggies, they got Josh Addo-Carr back. And I guess the key one here is that Carl Oluwapu is starting at 5'8".
Yep.
Got the BE of 27, so you can have a look this week. Then they have the bye, and then for round 14, could be a cheapie option.
Yeah, Cameron Ciraldo threw a very clearly directed barb at Josh Reynolds after the game last week.
Yeah.
Veterans who aren't getting the job done, I'm going to be looking elsewhere. Wow. It was straight up at the grub, and he's on the bench. So I reckon he goes to the bench and tends to play more of a middle role than he does, which maybe hurts Harrison Edwards. It might be minutes there.
So, yeah, it could be a cheapie for round 14. The issue is that he's only available in the halves, one position at 5'8" for SuperCoach. So it's going to be tough to fit in, particularly if you're running two guns in that slot. At the Titans, they've got Aaron Clark back. And look, David Fafita is captaincy option. I kind of like that call.
Triple tons. I mean, you can't knock it.
Playing for an origin spot, so he's going to be fired up again, up against the Dogs, which is a good matchup this year.
Yeah, Kieran Foran seems to have unlocked a little bit of mongrel in Fafita.
The Raiders via the Sea Eagles. The Raiders have lost Zach Wolford with concussion, but they've got Danny Levi back from a broken jaw. Anyone standing out for you here at the Raiders? I mean, they should be a by-coverage team, but there's no one who's, really standing out to me. You've got Tapane, who's solid. Croker, who you should hold, but, get rid of him as soon as you can after 13.
Matt Timoko. I keep talking about him, and I never got him. He's in the elite scoring for centre wings at the moment. Yep. Absolutely outstanding. I got Kyle Felt instead, which hasn't been a disaster. One of my best drunk trades. But Matt Timoko probably was the move I should have made.
And then finally the Sea Eagles. Big changes there with Gerbo back and Schuster back. But Alawai is out with a shoulder injury and Kelma Tuolangi out with a facial fracture as well. So plenty happening there at the Sea Eagles. Ruben Garrick is a popular purchase as well.
Ben Turbo starting. I mean, I had someone asking in Q&A, what do you think of Burbo? And I said, not unless he's starting. Well, he is. But I don't know, the price is okay, but how long does he stay there? It's a bit of a risk, a bit of a trap.
Right, a couple of questions till the end of the show. What have we got? I hope Reece Robson's missus isn't watching this, Rob. Hashtag grass cutter.
I threw a compliment to an extent.
I think, it was all said in it was all good natured. Tom as coach of the Dragons.
Well, you couldn't do worse.
I couldn't do that much worse.
You'd have to take a pay cut.
But Lane to Tohu or Madison. Well, Tohu's on the bye this week, so wait until next week for that one.
The other one, speaking of Dragons, last week people kept asking DeBellin or Tohu, and I said, no, you got to go Tohu, and DeBellin outscored him with a bloody try. I still think Tohu does better in the long run, but geez, DeBellin's playing well.
DeBellin, he is doing really well, and there is some chat that he might make that Origin team. Anything on Talakai's injury? It's a neck issue and he's out again this week, but that's...
It's a worry the way it's lingering, and the Sharks, Connor Tracy is one hell of a backup. He'd be a starting centre in a lot of teams. So, if I owned him, I'd be starting to worry a little. Yeah.
And Harrison's asking thoughts on Hudson Young. Will he play Origin? I've seen him in a lot of potential Origin teams. I don't think he'll quite get there, but look, he's an absolute gun, really.
I think he's a little bit of the pot stirrer's pick, It's a little like the Corey Horse.
I
want to pick him because he'll go the biff,
Yeah, it's good to get in yourself for getting your headline.
And there are certain journos who have a deep and abiding love for both the Raiders and Hudson Young in particular. Yeah. It's not to know, I wouldn't say he can't do it. He's a bit like the Tyson Frizzels. But if you're going to pick between Frizzell and Hudson Young, I think they're going to go with Frizzell.
Yep, fair enough. Last boost. This is from Daniel saying he's got from Nicholas rather. Last boost. Katoa to Cody Walker. He's a head-to-head player. I think that's a pretty serious trade.
That's a good trade.
If you're a head-to-head player, you should have a boost or two up your sleeves, I would say.
Nah, bugger it. They're there to be used.
Lane to Madison.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I don't mind it at all. Yeah. Well, we might call it a day on our team's podcast for round 12. Big thanks to Rob, and we'll catch you for the Game Day podcast on Thursday, 11 a.m. See you then.